Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtadhara Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Seventh Canto, The Science of God. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Text 46. No chet pramatam asad indriya vaji sutta nitvotpatam vishaya dasyushu nikshipanti te dasyavaha sahaya Sutam umam tamon. What's that next one? Ande samsara kupa uru mrityu baye chipanti. No chet pramatam asad indriya vaji sutta. Nidvodpatam Vishayadasyushu Nikshapanti Te Dasyava Saha Yasutamamum Tamonde Samsara Kupa Urumrityubaye Chapanti No chet pramattam asad indriya vajisuta Nidvodpatam vishayadasyushu nikshapanti Te dasya vasahaya sutamamam tamonde Samsara kupa urumrityubaye chapanti No chet pramattam asad indriya vajisuta Nidvodpatam vishayadasyushu nikshapanti Te dasya vasahaya sutamamam tamonde Samsara kupa urumrityubaye chapanti
No chet pramattam asadindriya vadisuta Nidvodpatam vishayadasyushu nikshipanti Te dasya vatsahaya sutamamum tamonde Samsara kupa urumrityubaye chapanti
No chet, if we do not follow the instructions of Acyuta Krishna, and do not take shelter of Balaram. Pramattam, careless, inattentive. Asat, which are always prone to material consciousness. Indriya, the senses. Vaji, acting as the horses. Sutaha, the driver, the chariot driver. Intelligence. Nidva, bringing. Utpatam, to the roadway of material desire. Vishaya, the sense objects. Dasyashu, in the hands of the plunderers. Nikshipanti, throw. Te, those. Dasyavaha, plunderers. Sa, with. Haya, sutam, the horses and the chariot driver. Amum, all of them. Tamaha, dark. Ande, blind. Samsara kupe, into the well of material existence. Uru, great. Mrityubaye, fear of death. Chipanti, throat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Otherwise, if one does not take shelter of Acyuta and Baladeva, then the senses, acting as the horses, and the intelligence, acting as the driver, both being prone to material contamination, inattentively bring the body, which acts as the chariot, to the path of sense gratification. When one is thus attracted again by the rogues of Vishaya, eating, sleeping, and mating, the horses and the chariot driver are thrown into the blinding, dark well of material existence. And one is again put into a dangerous and extremely fearful situation of repeated birth and death. Purport. Without the protection of Gaura, Krishna, and Balaram, one cannot get out of the dark well of ignorance in material existence. This is indicated here by the word nochet, which means that one will always remain in the dark well of material existence. The living entity must get strength from Nitai Gaur, or Krishna Balaram. Without the mercy of Nitai Gaur, there's no way to come out of this dark well of ignorance. As stated in the Caitanya Caritamrita Adi 1-2, Vande Shri Krishna Caitanya Nityandao Sahodito Godo Daye Pushpavantao Chitrao Shandao Tamonudao. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance, and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. This material world is a dark well of ignorance. The fallen soul in this dark well must take shelter of the lotus feet of Gaura, for thus he can easily emerge from material existence. Without their strength, simply attempting to get out of the clutches of matter by speculative knowledge will be insufficient. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kritvachalam Bhangam Langayate Girim Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitalinam Bancho Kapadrubishta Kripasundubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, translation again. Otherwise, if one does not take shelter of Acyuta and Baladeva, then the senses, acting as the horses, and the intelligence, acting as the driver, both being prone to material contamination, inattentively bring the body, which acts as the chariot, to the path of sense gratification. When one is thus attracted again by the rogues of Vishya, eating, sleeping, and mating, the horses and chariot driver are thrown into the blinding dark well of material existence. And one is again put into a dangerous and extremely fearful situation of repeated birth and death. So there was one devotee living in the temple some years ago here in San Diego, and I remember someone was worried about his eating habits, and they thought he was taking too much prasadam. Just like you have Ramchandra Puri in the Caitanya Caritamrita, he was criticizing the Vaishnavas for taking too much prasadam. Of course, he was the one who was pushing them to take prasadam, and then after they would overeat, he would criticize them. But this devotee wasn't doing that. He was just concerned about his health, because after all, we have a material body, and things could go wrong health-wise, and one could suffer unnecessarily. Like Srila Prabhupada said a comment about health. He said that you should take care of your health, because if you don't take care of your health later on in your life, even if you want to preach, you cannot, because you literally can't move around. You can't do, you can't travel. You can't. Your preaching becomes limited. So he said, take care of your health. Anyways, but this devotee mentioned it to this other devotee. He said, I'm worried about your eating habits, and you should kind of slow down. And then this devotee, after hearing that, he came to the Krishna Lounge breakfast hall, because for whatever reason we were taking prasadam in the Krishna Lounge that day. And he sat there, and what did he do? Did he follow the instruction? No way. He sat there and ate 5 burritos all at once, like Kanai's burritos. And it seems that Kanai used to make them kind of bigger too, I remember. So he sat there and ate 5 burritos all at once, which is a lot. So he didn't follow that. So sometimes we see that people, when they get good instructions, they tend to neglect them. They do just the opposite. It's like a it's like a rebelling factor within the conditioned soul. Comes out in different ways. And I've heard of a number of different kind of scenarios like this, where somebody gives someone some instruction and they just, no way, forget about it, and then they do the opposite. But when we hear the instructions of the spiritual master, or when we hear the instructions of the devotees, or when we read the instructions of the scripture, the idea is that we should try to follow them and not have this particular mentality that, okay, I know you said it, or I know the scripture said it, but forget about it, I'm going to do the opposite. Just like we hear that Gaura Babaji was asked a particular question, and the question he was asked was, how does one attain love of God? And then Gaura Babaji said, oh, that's very easy. You just go down to the market, and it will just cost you a very small amount of rupees. And then the devotees were wondering, oh, how is this? And he said, well, you go down to the market and you just buy 2 books, Sri Premi Bhakti Chandrika and Prarthana, both books of Narottam Das Thakur, and you read those regularly, you study those regularly, and you'll attain love of God. So we hear instructions like that, or if you chant the Shikshashtakam every day, then you'll get closer to that goal of Krishna Prem. Or, for example, there's one particular from the Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Leela, chapter 14, text 1. katanchana smriter yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhavet vismate viparitam syat shri chaitanyam namamitam. So that means things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offer my respectful obeisances. So there's a number of things that people may consider to be difficult in Krishna consciousness. What are some things that people may consider to be difficult? Does anybody have any idea here? Waking up early, okay. Chanting your rounds. Giving up illicit sex, Trivita Prabhu says. The other principles. So people may have a hard time following the principles, or getting up early, or chanting rounds. Maybe it's all circulating around those things. Does that pretty much cover it? What else is there to follow? Taking cold showers, yes. So I guess that kind of sums it up. Just like Srila Prabhupada would say that you, or his godbrothers, when they went to London, they met Lord Zetlin. They asked him, Marquis Zetlin, they asked him, or Zetlin wanted to become a Brahmin or a Brahmin. And then the devotee said, sure, we could, no problem, we could arrange that. We could make you a Brahmin, but you have to follow these 4 principles. And they mentioned the 4 principles, and then in his British accent he said, oh, impossible. So, yeah, people have a hard time with that or other things, many things. But if one remembers Lord Chaitanya, then even the things that seem difficult become easy. And if one doesn't remember Lord Chaitanya, then the very easy things become difficult. Or what to speak, or when we talk about spreading Krishna consciousness, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, communicating Krishna consciousness to others, trying to help people advance in Krishna consciousness, it may seem very difficult. But if you remember Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then it becomes easy. The verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati, he says that if one is favored by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then that devotee doesn't care for liberation, which is sought after. This is Srila Prabhupada's translation of it in this 14.1 in the purport. He doesn't care for liberation, which is sought after by many great scholars and philosophers. The devotee of Lord Chaitanya considers residence in the heavenly planets a will-o'-the-wisp. Does anyone know what the definition of that? Will-o'-the-wisp? Yeah, there's a description of it, but it doesn't exist. For example, does anyone think of any examples? Yeah, flowers in the sky. What about horse eggs? Yeah, horse eggs, they don't exist. Unicorns? Don't tell people that one. He surpasses the mystic perfection of mystic yoga power because for him the senses are like snakes with broken fangs. So the senses, which are generally considered to be dangerous, they lead one to hell in some cases, many cases. For a devotee, those snakes, the senses are there, but the fangs are removed. So in other words, the senses they're not acting as one's enemy anymore, for one who gets the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this way, there's great stress on that. And this is the words of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. This is the beginning of the Caitanya Charitamrita, in which he starts to describe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's childhood childhood pastimes, and then later his pastimes of marriage and Navadvip, and then later his pastimes of sannyas and preaching and spending time in Jagannath Puri. So he's taking shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that I'm going to write this very difficult work, seemingly difficult work, to describe the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's recalling this. Well, if I remember Lord Chaitanya, then even though this is a very difficult work, it will become easy. In other words, if one is empowered by Lord Chaitanya, one could do anything that is considered to be impossible. For ordinary people, like following the, like Lord Zetlin said, following the principles, impossible. So one is able to do so many wonderful things in Krishna's service. So, so therefore, we should try to relish the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which means we could read them, we could hear them, we could think about them, meditate on them, and in this way feel enlivened in our Krishna consciousness. So I'll just read a few verses from the Caitanya Caritamrita dealing with specifically Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dealings with Jagadananda Pandit. It's a very, very wonderful exchanges between both of them, and unique, and that mostly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers were very much in the mood of a servant. Like, a servant means you're the master, and I'm very humble with you. I'm engaged in your service, and pretty much I act according to your desires. Whereas Jagadananda Pandit, he would push some of his desires on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, unlike many devotees, for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but really against Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own desire. It's quite interesting. So I'll just read a few verses about that. This is from Antya Leela, chapter 12, text 96. So Jagadananda Pandit met all the other devotees in Nadia. They were all very happy to have him present. So Jagadananda Pandit, he came to Navadvip, and he spent time with the devotees in Navadvip, Advaitacharya, Shachimata, many other devotees. Jagadananda Pandit thereafter went to meet Advaitacharya, who was also very happy to have him. Vasudev Dutt and Murari Gupta were so pleased to see Jagadananda Pandit that they kept him at their homes and would not allow him to leave. They heard confidential narrations about Lord Chaitanya from the mouth of Jagadananda Pandit and forgot themselves in the great happiness of hearing about the Lord. Whenever Jagadananda Pandit went to visit a devotee's house, that devotee immediately forgot himself in great happiness. So he went to different devotees' homes, they were talking about Lord Chaitanya, and they just forgot themselves in great happiness. And it says whatever home he went to, devotees would just forget themselves. All glories to Jagadananda Pandit. He is so favored by Lord Chaitanya that anyone who meets him thinks, now I have gotten the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. So he would meet devotees and they feel, now I've met Lord Chaitanya, because he was so much absorbed in Lord Chaitanya, so much carrying Lord Chaitanya, that they felt that I practically met Lord Chaitanya. So similarly, the idea is that we should carry Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, we should carry Srila Prabhupada, and when people meet us, they should feel that, either consciously or unconsciously. Jagadananda Pandit stayed at the house of Shivananda Sain for some time, and they prepared about 16 seers of scented sandalwood oil. Does anybody know how much 16 seers is? I'm going to take a guess. 15 kilograms. Does anyone know how much that is? 15. 5 pounds?
1 kilo. 4 kilos is like a gallon.
Yeah. So how much did it in gallons?
It's about 4 gallons.
About 4 gallons for the American population who don't look at things in kilograms, they look at things in gallons, 4 gallons. So how much are those milk jugs that we get? 2 gallons, right? Yeah, 2 gallons. So about 4 gallons of oil they prepared. So you think about like 2 milk jugs of scented sandalwood oil. They filled a large earthen pot with aromatic oil, and with great care, Jagannatha Pandit brought it to Jagannath Puri. This oil was placed in the care of Govinda, Lord Chaitanya's servant. And Jagannatha Pandit requested him, please rub this oil on the body of the Lord. Govinda therefore told Lord Chaitanya, Jagannatha Pandit has brought some scented sandalwood oil. It is his desire that your lordship apply a little of this oil on your head, so that blood pressure due to bile and air will be considerably diminished. He prepared a large jug of it in Bengal, and with great care he has brought it here. So they walked it all the way from Navadvip to Puri, which is a long journey. I think we looked it up. I don't know how many days it takes by walking. You want to look that up, Sankarshan? How long does it take? 1 month? Okay, well, let's see. Faster? Yeah, from Jagannath Puri to Navadvip. How long does it take to walk? He's saying a month. Sometimes, maybe they're moving faster or whatever, but we'll see what the modern calculation is. But it was a long walk, so they carried these jugs of oil to Puri. The Lord replied, a sannyasi has no use for oil, especially perfumed oil such as this. Take it out immediately. Deliver this oil to the temple of Jagannath, where it may be burned in the lamps. In this way, Jagannatha's labor in manufacturing the oil will be perfectly successful. When Govinda informed Jagannatha Pandit of this message, Jagannatha remained silent. Funny. Not saying even a word. So this is a sign of anger. Sometimes there's different types of anger. Sometimes people are very vocal, right? Maybe we know some people very vocal. And then some people are very silent. They just go silent. So Jagannatha Pandit went silent, didn't say a word. When 10 days had passed, Govinda again told Lord Chaitanya, it is the desire of Jagannatha Pandit that your lordship accept the oil. So they're trying again. When the Lord heard this, he angrily said, why not keep a masseuse to massage me? Have I taken sannyas for such happiness? Accepting this oil would bring my ruination, and all of you would laugh. If someone passing on the road smelled this oil on my head, he would think me a dari sannyasi, a sannyasi who keeps women. Hearing these words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Govinda remained silent. The next morning, Jagannatha went to see the Lord. Lord Chaitanya said to Jagannatha Pandit, my dear Pandit, you have brought me some oil from Bengal, but since I am in the renounced order, I cannot accept it. So Jagannatha Pandit and Lord Chaitanya are there, talking. Deliver the oil to the temple of Jagannath, so that it may be burned in the lamps. Thus your labor in preparing the oil will be fruitful. Jagannatha Pandit replied, who tells you all these false stories? I never brought any oil from Bengal. After saying this, Jagannatha Pandit took the jug of oil from the room and threw it down before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the courtyard and broke it because it was in clay pots. He just threw it down. There's a painting. You can see. See it, Sankarshan? No, the painting. See, Jagannatha Pandit, he's throwing it's Kanai, you have to look at it later, a little far. So he threw it down in the courtyard and broke it. After breaking the jug, Jagannatha Pandit returned to his residence, bolted the door, and lay down. 3 days later, Lord Chaitanya went to the door of his room and said, "My dear Jagannath Pandit, please get up. I want you personally to cook my lunch today." So he became angry. He said, "I got this oil for Lord Chaitanya." And then he told Lord Chaitanya, "Who told you I got that oil? I don't get that oil." And he threw it down, he broke it, and then he went to his room and he just like fasted there. Just went to his room and fasted, locked his door. So Lord Chaitanya, he went and he knocked and he said, "Can you please cook for me? I want you personally to cook my lunch today. I'm going now to see the Lord in the temple. I shall return at noon." So he's there, I'll return at noon. I gave him some time. After Lord Chaitanya said this and left, Jagannath Pandit got up from his bed, bathed, and began to cook varieties of vegetables. After finishing his noontime ritual duties, the Lord arrived for lunch. Jagannath Pandit washed the Lord's feet and gave the Lord a sitting place. He had cooked fine rice, mixed with ghee, and piled it high on a banana leaf. There were also varieties of vegetables placed all around in pots made of banana tree bark. On the rice and vegetables were tulsi leaves, and in front of the Lord were cakes, sweet rice, and other prasadam of Jagannath. The Lord said, "Spread another leaf with a helping of rice and vegetables so that today you and I might take lunch together." So he wanted to take lunch with him. Lord Chaitanya kept his hands raised and would not accept the prasadam until Jagannath Pandit, with great affection and love, spoke the following words: Please first take prasadam yourself, and I shall eat later. I shall not refuse your request." In great happiness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then accepted the lunch. When he had tasted the vegetables, he again began to speak. "Even when you cook in an angry mood," he said, "the food is very delicious. This shows how pleased Krishna is with you. Because he will personally eat the food, Krishna makes you cook so nicely. You offer such nectarine rice to Krishna. Who can estimate the limit of your fortune?" So, nice rice. Also in Bengal, they really like rice. You just go to the brahmachari kitchen where they have all the brahmacharis are sitting, taking prasadam, or anywhere actually for that many, any household. Generally, you'll see quite a lot of rice, big pile of rice. So I'm sure some people will be shocked how much rice, Jagannath Pandit replied, "He who will eat has cooked this. As far as I am concerned, I simply collect the ingredients." Jagannath Pandit continued to offer the Lord varieties of vegetables. Out of fear, the Lord said nothing but continued eating happily. Jagannath Pandit eagerly forced the Lord to eat so much that he ate 10 times more than on other days. Again and again, when the Lord wished to get up, Jagannath Pandit would feed him more vegetables. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dared not forbid him to feed him more. So he was just scared because, Jagannath Pandit has a bit of a temper, transcendental. So he was just accepting the prasadam 10 times more because he didn't want Jagannath Pandit to get angry with him like he did before. He just continued eating, fearful that Jagannath would fast if he stopped. At last, the Lord respectfully submitted, "My dear Jagannath, you have already made me eat 10 times more than I am used to. Now please stop." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and washed his hands and mouth, while Jagannath Pandit brought spices, a garland, and sandalwood pulp. So it's interesting because here we're hearing, and I'm not exactly sure of the reason, but he fed him, and then he gave him spices, which is understandable, fennel and other things. But then he gave him a garland and sandalwood pulp. It's interesting he did it after the meal. Not sure what the... Accepting the sandalwood pulp and garland, the Lord sat down and said, "Now in front of me you must eat." Jagadananda replied, "My Lord, you go take rest. I shall take prasadam after I finish making some arrangements. Ramai Pandit and Raghunath Bhatta did the cooking, and I want to give them some rice and vegetables." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Govinda, "You remain here. When the Pandit has taken his food, come inform me." After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said this and left, Jagadananda Pandit spoke to Govinda. Go quickly and massage the Lord's feet. He said, you may tell him, the Pandit has just sat down to take his meal. I shall keep some remnants of the Lord's food for you. When he is asleep, come and take your portion. Jagadananda Pandit thus distributed remnants of the Lord's food to Ramai, Nandai, Govinda, and Raghunath Bhatta. He also personally ate the remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the Lord again sent Govinda. The Lord told him, go see whether Jagadananda Pandit is eating, then quickly return and let me know. Seeing that Jagadananda Pandit was indeed eating, Govinda informed the Lord, who then became peaceful and went to sleep. So here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, at the end of there's a couple more, let's just a few more. The affectionate, loving exchanges between Jagadananda Pandit and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued in this manner, exactly like the exchanges between Satyabhama and Lord Krishna, related in Srimad Bhagavatam. Who can estimate the limit of Jagadananda Pandit's fortune? He himself is the example of his own great fortune. So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He says at the very end, he says, anyone who hears about the loving exchanges between Jagadananda Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or who reads Jagadananda Pandit's book, Prema Vivarta, can understand what love is. Moreover, he achieves ecstatic love of Krishna. So like this, in the scriptures, Caitanya Caritamrita and so many other places, we hear that if we engage our mind in this way, then we will achieve love of Krishna. So therefore the conclusion is, from the Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya 25, men become very stout and strong by eating sufficient grains, like rice and Bengal or wherever you are, different particular grains or food. But the devotee who simply eats ordinary grains, so devotee, even just, maybe you want to say ordinary grains, or it could also be seen as just, prasadam. Prabhupada explains it in the purport. But does not taste the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, gradually becomes weak and falls down from the transcendental position. However, if one drinks but a drop of the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, his body and mind begin to bloom, and he begins to laugh, sing, and dance. So that's the idea, to try to, this is it's mentioned in this purport and verse that we have to take shelter of Gaur Nitai, and means to meditate on them, pray to them, become absorbed in their qualities and pastimes, try to spread their glories, and in this way, it's very nice. So does anybody have any question or comment? Chad, do you have?
Hare Krishna. So I first want to thank whoever heisted the cup of halwa I had yesterday and saved me from eating it. So thank you.
Someone stole it from you?
Well, it went missing.
Okay.
To my fortune. So
did it have your name on it?
No.
Well, sometimes prasadam disappears even if somebody has their name on it. So this is less of a theft. But
no, I'm grateful. So thank you.
Oh, Kanai took it.
Oh, Kanai did. Oh, okay. That works. My second question, or my question is that if you watch Following Prabhupada, a lot of the times you see him eating alone.
Yeah.
Did he typically eat alone? And there's also the question of what kind of things did he meditate on when he ate? He always seemed like he was in a deep thought, deep trance, and I was just kind of curious about that.
All right, thank you. Very often, Srila Prabhupada would take prasadam alone. As far as I've heard, like his breakfast, lunch, Srila Prabhupada wouldn't use it as a time for like meetings with people, like for example, like GBC meetings, because he would meet with GBCs or temple presidents, or he wouldn't use it as a time to talk about problems or anything like that. But he'd use it as a very peaceful time in which he was just meditating, taking his prasadam. I mean, although he would take prasadam with devotees sometimes when at home programs and other such things, he would take prasadam with devotees, mostly like preaching engagements at people's homes. That's where you hear mostly where Srila Prabhupada took prasadam with devotees. But in terms of what he was thinking about, I mean, I'm not. I don't think that's mentioned anywhere. I've never heard it. I mean, no one ever asked that, as far as I know, and I've never heard anybody talk about it. I mean, you could be thinking of Krishna's pastimes or Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, or who knows? I mean, when Srila Prabhupada was driving from Vrindavan, or driving from Delhi to Vrindavan, which the roads are much better these days, by the way. He was very quiet, and he was in the car, and then when the Guru Das, he was thinking, oh, what is Srila Prabhupada thinking of? Maybe he's thinking about like the Rasa Leela dance, or maybe he's thinking about like Krishna dancing on Kaliya's heads or something. Like, what is he thinking about? And then all of a sudden Srila Prabhupada says, cement. And Guru Das is like, cement? And then Prabhupada says, cement. He just kind of says it. And then Guru Das, was kind of waiting for Prabhupada's explanation, and he said, we need cement to build the Krishna Balaram temple. So Prabhupada was kind of scheming, if you want, a transcendental scheming, planning how to get cement to build the temple. Because apparently in India at the time it was difficult to get cement and all this kind of bureaucratic stuff. So whatever Srila Prabhupada was thinking of, whether he was thinking about the pastimes or preaching, but as far as I haven't heard anything. Yeah. But that's there. You also have Lord Chaitanya's associates. They would very often take prasadam together, if not all the time. I mean, you don't hear otherwise, really. So both of those examples are there. I think, yeah.
Thank you for the class. Now that we're talking about prasad, I have a question that, can you explain to me how the consciousness travels through the grains?
How the consciousness travels through the grains. Well, does anybody have any thoughts about that?
It's obvious.
Through the hands?
It's like anything else. If you're a painter, or even if you're, someone just building something, your consciousness is involved with what you're doing, and especially, when someone cooks with the right consciousness of this is going to be offered to Krishna, and therefore I have to be very careful, and he'll taste this and so forth. Then. You can't explain it on a material level, but especially when it's then cooked and then offered nicely, and then we're supposed to also honor it, not just eat it, honor it and remember Krishna, and that Krishna's actually tasted this. There's this whole thing of pela, that the gopis are thinking, oh, Krishna's whatever the nectar from his mouth is infused in everything he eats, and therefore you take the remnants and you're getting that. That's another way of thinking.
Yeah.
So it's one of these mysterious, mystical facts. And I heard Prabhupada in a lecture where he's saying, the ordinary people, they see us eating and they just think it's ordinary food, but or even like in the early days, he would just cut an apple apart and set and that became prasadam because of Prabhupada's, but it is prasadam. They just think it's only, but it is prasadam, and you can taste, you can feel the change in you when you eat. So it's one of these many mysterious things about Krishna consciousness, that that whatever is produced in Krishna consciousness for Krishna has a potency to also attract you to Krishna if you're receptive to it. That's the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, many things devotees, there's many things that devotees try to explain from a scientific point of view in Krishna consciousness, and specifically the scientists of the Hare Krishna movement. They try to explain things in a scientific way to the general public, and more so the scientific leaders of the world. And in many ways are doing a great job of that. But yeah, there's certain aspects of Krishna consciousness that you can't really explain in a scientific way, like a materialistic scientific way. But that doesn't mean it's wrong or useless. Why should everything have to be explained in a materialistic scientific way? But anyways, yeah, these points Srivida Prabhu is making is that whatever a person does, whether it's cooking or singing or whatever it may be, the consciousness is transferred. It has an effect on those who are receiving, on the receiving end.
Yeah, I was asking specifically about grains, also a Kadashin, we don't eat grains, and also when it talks about the people in heaven when they fall in the water and they are like grains and the people eat it, and so they're traveling that conscious through the grains. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
Grains specifically. I mean, I haven't really heard much detailed explanation about that, grains. Yeah, because they say that milk has less karmic influence, like milk products, for example, if you eat them cooked by non-devotees, whereas grains have more influence. So why is that? I mean, again, I haven't heard any detailed explanation. Why can't it be the other way? Well, for example, we wear white Brahman thread, but why do we wear white Brahman thread? Why don't we wear blue Brahman thread? Is there a particular reason? So anyways, I don't know, maybe there's something. Yeah.
The idea is that someone's he practices all these austerities and sacrifices, he goes to heaven. But he's there for a certain term, according to his pious credits, right? And when it's used up, as probably Krishna says, so how does that soul then take a body? And they've got to take another body. So the way it's described is he falls down in the rain. The rain then, is taken up when the wheat is growing, say, or the rice is growing. And that soul is in the rain, the water, and then it's incorporated into the rice or the grain of some kind, which is then eaten by a man, and it enters into the semen, and then that's injected into and that's the way it gets into the body, human body.
Yeah, from a speculation point of view, it's well, I mean, if you have the milk, as far as we hear, there's no soul there. There's no, but the grains, at least from this particular description, says there is a soul. And what does that soul mean? It means there's also, soul means, soul doesn't just come along, there's all this karma and all this stuff, in it. So from that point of view, ingesting that, you could see the difference, I mean, that's just...
Krishna's also in every atom.
Krishna's in every atom, that's true.
So no matter what.
Okay,
yeah,
last.
I agree with what you were just saying, definitely. I've heard about that from all this, but also that, also salt, you're not supposed to take it from someone, because it has like maximum karmic substance like absorption.
Salt, huh?
So like if you hand it to somebody, like supposedly like, you know, you're gonna take on the most, you're gonna absorb the most karma from them. So you're not supposed, they're supposed to set it down on the table and then you take it off the table.
Okay, never
So,
heard that.
But that's something along the lines of the karmic substance that you were talking about, I think.
Main thing is patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakti priyachati. Just offer it to Krishna and accept it with love and devotion, and then that's it. Right? Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.